Hey Jake, it's Jason. Hey, do you have a piece of equipment that'll crush a car? This car has fought me for 3 years. We're going to give it one last shot today. If it doesn't run today, we're going to crush it. So you can watch that video if it doesn't fire. If it does fire off, we'll find a new owner for it. I found this one and I saw this one and I knew I shouldn't have bought it, and I paid too much for it because the guy that was bidding against me I just didn't like, so I was making sure he didn't get it. We got it back here. It was covered in moss. We pressure washed it. The engine turned over but didn't have any compression, so the engine has never quite run right like it should. So that was the first of many things. What else, Steve? What else is there with this car?
It's pretty robust. I mean, this car is what, 30-ish plus years old. Original window regulators, rolls up and down fine. Original transmission, the lights pop up, the vacuum system for that. So a lot of stuff that they made back in that time was actually a lot more robust and sturdy than what you're going to see today. Nothing weird, no VVT, nothing strange going on because it's so old. So we're going to try to fire it up after about a year of it sitting and then try to figure out what's causing it to run bad. Like a sunroof on this thing, it still works. It still opens up fine. Like, that's pretty amazing. Here, see what we got.
Oh, that's not good.
That doesn't sound good at all.
You blew the intake off. Flew off. That is awesome. Hold on here. I don't think she liked that I threatened her. Yep.
Okay. When you have compression, that sound that you heard, the should actually have like humps in the sound, like do. But when you get this, we'll just call it the whine, and everything's turning, it means that essentially we're not getting that compression. It's not building up the pressure to make the choo that you should hear. So I think we're going to take the plugs out, put the compression gauge on it, and see what kind of numbers we get.
I'm suspecting this motor's toast, and if it is indeed toast, I'm going to borrow a bulldozer from my neighbors. I'm going to take the Sparco seats out, I'm going to take the wheels off it, and I'm going to crush it, and this car will never see the light of day again.
That noise, all right, there we go.
No, nada. Well, that might be 5. If Steve can't make this engine run today, I won't only crush this car, I'll crush a Range Rover LR4 that's very, very nice. I'm sure that between crushing the 2 cars that are both look good, I could offend a lot of groups of car enthusiasts.
It's like putting something out of its misery. Like, I mean, it looks good, but like, it's terminally ill on the inside. But for us to have 0 pressure, that's never a good sign. Why don't we check number 4?
I've already gotten buried in this car. I sold it once, I had to buy it back, and paying a guy to pull the engine out again while not getting customer work done just doesn't make sense financially. So I'm really hoping that it's not VIN valves, it's not worst case scenario, because ultimately that'll be the end of this car. And I don't like selling project things that don't run. It never goes well. So we'll see what happens.
And we're going to do it with my magical whistling tool here.
This whistle he has literally is a whistle, and when the cylinder gets to the top, it pushes the compression out and makes a whistle sound. A little more difficult if you don't have compression, but at least I can hear the air moving, so that'll give us an indication. The engine always has to be kept in time, and if you're off just a little bit, the valves can be open when they're supposed to be closed. That can cause you to wipe out a motor. Oh, no. Wait, keep going like you were. Just a little bit more.
Okay.
My old ass eyes can't see the numbers very well, but I see where 0 is now. Almost. They're right there.
All right. This one is here. should actually be here. Now, in a situation like this, where the timing is not off by a 2 or 3 teeth, but basically it's 180 degrees out, it's doing the exact opposite. This could definitely cause us to have the numbers we're having when we're not seeing any compression.
I hate this car. I hate everything about it.
Right about there, just a little bit more. No, right there. Okay, hold on. All right, let's make sure everything is connected on. All right, let's see if we can get a fire off.
No smoke, that's a good thing.
Stay running. This was something that I also seem to remember, was that when it came back, the vehicle did not want to stay running. If you had to kind of goose the throttle and give it gas until it warmed up, then it would stay running, but it would just run poorly.
This car actually ran really well when it left here. But as Steve was talking about the break-in on the engine earlier, it wasn't broken in fully when I sold it, and I gave very specific directions, and it came back running like this, which led us to believe that obviously it was not treated as we directed to break it in. So this is back to the way it came back to us now. So now we're back to square one, and we can figure out what the issue is. Oh my God.
We got
like 40. 40. That is not good. That's not good at all.
For us to only get about 40 PSI from this test, we really should have gotten, I think he said the book value was about 180.
I would like to ask anybody that's watching, please forgive the mess we have here. We've just been running such a high volume of cars for so long that the shop is just a cluster. But we're getting cleaned up here pretty quick. We're not normally this messy. The big frustration I've had with this car is Toyotas are simple. They're not difficult to work on. We've got all the tools, we've got all the technology, we've got all the information. And where we're at on this car, it shouldn't be running like this. It shouldn't be having compression issues. It shouldn't be having any of the runnability issues it has. It's just simple. I mean, cars only need a few things to run. They need timing, compression, fuel, fire. We've got all that, and we've got it all in the right order. So why it's running this way is very, very frustrating, which is why I keep talking about how much I hate the car and talking about crushing it. I mean, I may still crush it. I don't know. But if anybody can fix this car, it's Steve.
What we have here is what looks like about 130, about 125. That definitely rules out my bad gauge. Remember, folks, test your equipment. All these years of faithful service, it's over.
I don't want to crush you, but I will.
I need you to work with me here. Give me something. All right. And it sounds like it's building pressure. That's what you want. So that's enough to let me know that even if we don't really have a compression issue, that even though I can check the other cylinders, we have enough to make it run.
This is the original coil and original igniter. And these igniters failed when I was selling auto parts back in 1995. Yeah, I said that, 1995 I was selling auto parts. These things were failing then. So maybe we use our spark tester to make sure that we're getting a good bright pulse off of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we can do that right now.
So essentially with this, basically it just goes in line between the spark plug and the spark plug wire, and we're going to look for the light and how much it lights up, how bright it gets. That lets us know kind of how powerful the spark is. If we have weak spark, then the light's going to be dim. and that we know we have an ignition issue at that point. If it's nice and bright or hot as we call it, we know there's no issue there. So let's plug it in and see what it does.
If it can shock me and if it can light that up enough, it should be able to fire off the mixture. So looks like we got good compression, looks like we have a good ignition. Old coil, but I mean it's a Toyota, so I'm not surprised that it's still working.
So I guess we'll head on to fuel now and see what that looks like. How'd the plugs look when you took them out?
They had been burning something. They weren't foul, but they were definitely.
Were they lean at all?
Well, I couldn't really look at the plug and tell to determine that, but I got a trick for us to see if the car is lean. If the car is running lean because it's seeing too much oxygen, or running rich, it's not seeing enough oxygen. It's going to do this off of a scale of about 0 to 1 volt or 0.9. The lower the number we see is the closer to being lean. A car that runs good is going to shift around, but we want to see it be somewhere about 5.
It controls the air-fuel mixture. Okay. More gas, less gas.
Basically.
More air, less air.
Basically.
Did I mention how much I hate this car? I'm gonna see if Jake's next door if he's got his excavator out.
Listen, you better work with me here, car. You want to live. The area that's got a little hole into it. If that number comes up, we know that the fence is working fine.
Over here. Down here. Well. What was that?
Well, we haven't vacuumed it for sure. And honestly, there was like this little part of me, it was like, okay, you found something that's good enough, but I wanted to hear it run smoothly, so I just kind of kept dumping it in. And there was this little voice that was like, okay, we know something's going on, back up. Not the safest test procedure, but also a very fast way.
You're a little singed.
I did see a fireball, if that matters.
It was just starting fluid. There's nothing on that side of the engine. It wasn't a fuel leak, it wasn't electrical, it was just the starting fluid got hot on the EGR pipe and there was a lot of it down there. So had a fireball, but really that's all it was. So if we'd used the fire extinguisher, it would have made a huge mess of the engine and the paint and the shop, and it just would have been bad all the way around. And I already don't like this car at all. So water was the best option to put it out. What we could do is we do a smoke test on it the safe way, the proper OSHA approved way, and see where it's leaking out of so I can track down the parts and gaskets, because I won't be able to get them today. Looks like an inappropriate adult toy is what it kind of looks like, but that's not what it is.
Oh no.
This is full of baby oil, and it burns it and makes fog like a smoke machine at a nightclub. It fills up the intake system. This seals it. Put it in, squeeze it, it blows up. and plugs the holes, puts the smoke into the engine, and then wherever the smoke is coming out of, that is where our leak is and what we need to fix.
Leaking everywhere, man.
And it's also leaking from, well, I see another
Hey,
leak, but, well, if you look closely, you can see where there used to be a hose there.
Oh, that
I
probably
think,
happened in the fire.
Yeah, that, he didn't make it.
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it.
That's going to be all we're going to do with this for now. We're waiting for the Aston to get back from paint. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even pulled this car in. So it'll probably be a couple of weeks before we get back to it. But it'll live or it won't. So you guys will have to wait to see if I crush it. I noticed I maybe sounded really negative about the person I sold this car to and how it came back to us. And I shouldn't be. It's not that person's fault. I know better as someone who builds cars and sells cars. I know better than to sell this one before it was done perfect and all broken in and everything. So I have to take some responsibility on that. I shouldn't have let it go that way. I should have made him wait. So I just got to look at it from a different perspective. I'm just very, very frustrated with this car. I've never had a car that was as tedious as this one.